Hello everyone. Today we are going to review a movie called Baaghi, or I believe that is how you pronounce it anyway. Uh, Now if you're trying to find this movie on IMDb, you won't be able to find it under Baaghi, so you actually have to go, I had to do it this way. I had to go to the actor's page who plays the main character, Tiger Shroff, who plays Ronnie in this movie. I just went to his page and then went through his I guess like filmography stuff and actually found Bagai. Luckily, I actually found the cover for the movie because otherwise I don't think I would have found it because it's under Waris Khan on IMDb and it says Bagai underneath was the original title. Not really sure why they changed it or whether they were going to go a different direction, but from the looks of it, there is a Bagai 2 and a Bagai 3. So I'll have to look those up because this movie was actually quite enjoyable. Uh, so we follow this character named Ronnie, who I guess his father sends him off to, I believe India to train in the mixed martial arts. Uh, I guess because his father has passed away, so he yeah, he gets sent off to India to train. See, some of the story was very confusing because he brings this letter to this trainer, and I guess his father knew the trainer, I suppose. Must have anyway, because it was almost like he was writing to his brother, which I found very odd. So this trainer has this son named Raghav, or Raghav, played by Sudhir Babu Pasani. That is quite a name. I hope I'm not butchering any of these names either, because obviously the pronunciation could be way off. And we have this girl, Sia, played by Sharada Kapoor. I hope that's probably the closest one that I've gotten, hey? Hopefully. I could be butchering these names completely, and if I am, I apologize, because, yes. See what I mean? Like, it seems, I think I've said this in a previous video, but it seems weird to us to try to pronounce these names, and it probably seems weird for other people to try to pronounce our names. It's so weird, like, just the cultural difference. But anyhow, so this was kind of like a Bollywood slash action movie, which I always find interesting in those movies, that they just try to make it serious, but then also break out into song and dance in like certain parts. I guess there's always like a very serious love story in most of these movies. So obviously Ronnie and Sia meet very early on, and I'm not exactly sure what she did to make Ronnie dislike her. I was kind of confused by that part, but yeah, in the beginning of the film, it seems like he doesn't like her very much, and then I think they started to do like sort of like a flashback thing where it goes to when they first meet, and then she ends up obviously seeing Raghav as well. So they don't even know at the time that they're training in the same spot that they're going after the same woman. But Raghav's father is actually the trainer, and I don't know. I wish it showed his face in here. So we have this film producer and Sia's father who are working on this movie, and they're trying to get Sia to be the star. And at one point, Raghav comes and takes her away because he's in love with her, and I guess now that he has the power, because at one point in the movie he ends up actually killing his father, because it seems that arranged marriage is still a thing in that culture. So I guess Raghav didn't obviously didn't want an arranged marriage. He wanted to marry whoever he chose, right? And he chooses Sia. But now he's competing with Ronnie, and Ronnie seems to be like the star pupil under his father. So at first he actually invites him, says to him, keep up the great work, and maybe I'll invite you to such and such event somewhere. And obviously Ronnie's very happy to hear that, because he knows how well Rhaegar trains, and he's obviously a champion. So if Rhaegar sees Ronnie as a champion, or a potential champion, that means something, right? Obviously, you've been taking your training seriously if if you're if you can be seen as a champion in the eyes of another champion, I suppose. But things obviously turn sideways after Rhaegar kills his father, and then he goes after Sia, because Ronnie is also in love with Sia, and he's been trying to win her since the very beginning of the movie, and there's this weird connection between the weather and them meeting. So it seems every time they meet, it rains. So Ronnie tries to say that's like a sign from the gods that they're actually meant to be together, and eventually they do end up together. Now, I know it was almost like music videos in this movie in certain points, which was funny. And to be honest, I did notice that at the very beginning you could find all the music from the movie on T-Series. So I believe some of these might have actually been music videos, and they were just kind of thrown into the movie. And or maybe they were just made into music videos after the movie came out, because it seemed very high quality scenes when they were doing that kind of stuff. I mean, the whole movie was still good quality, but it just seemed like when the music was happening, they were really, really focusing on that part. And like the choreography that probably went into those dances was just crazy. And it was weird because some of it was in English. Some of this movie was in English, and some of this movie was in I don't really know what other language they would have been using. Hindi, maybe, I think, was one of them. If I'm correct on that. I think that might have been the other language. So, yeah, I kind of flipped back and forth between them. So, yes, they could speak English, and they could also speak Hindi. I believe that was the other language. And then at one point, he went to Thailand. So, yeah, it was kind of interesting. So, Sia's father is very deceitful. He tries to get, I believe he owes some sort of debt to Rhaegar. So he is trying to get his daughter to stay away from Ronnie by making it look like Ronnie's the bad guy and Rhaegar is the good guy. Now, I'm not really sure what he owes him, but obviously his daughter gets taken away eventually, so he owed him something. And I guess they were it seemed like Rhaegar and Sia's father were planning something from the beginning, I guess, to make this marriage happen. And I'm not really sure why. And it was kind of odd, really, because Sia called the same guy that Sia called her dad, Ronnie referred to as his uncle through the movie. So I was really confused as to whether that was just whether he just considered him that close, like as that kind of figure, or whether it actually was his uncle and Sia and Ronnie were somehow related in some way, which kind of made the love aspect of the movie really weird. And I will touch on the fact that when they were doing, it was hard to differentiate. It was hard to differ. I'm just going to say that, between what was happening in real time and what was happening as flashbacks, because they never actually put up anything on the screen in those moments to say hey, we're going back a little bit and now we're actually in real time. So you kind of had to make the connection in your own head as to what was actually happening in the present and what was happening in the past, because it was hard to tell sometimes. But Ronnie ends up leaving to go to Thailand, and I don't know whether he was getting more training or he was following something that his master said. That whole thing was a little confusing. But I think he ends up going back to India, and he, at one point, is protecting this kid named Sabu. And this child doesn't speak, and I'm not really sure what happened. They kind of touched on that a little bit at the beginning of the movie, but I'm not really sure what the whole story is behind that. So maybe that had something to do with why Ronnie was mad with Sia. Not really sure, but and I don't know whether it was Ronnie's kid or somebody else's kid. I can't remember because that yeah. So, see what I mean? Like some of the story was a bit all over the place, but altogether, I would say like the action scenes were fantastic. Some of them I find in I guess it's a Bollywood film basically. Some of them I find in Bollywood films, like the action scenes are a little bit over the top. Like some of it doesn't even seem realistic, and it always seems in these types of movies that for some reason the hero gets beat up really, really badly in one scene. Sorry, and then just suddenly comes back and just beats the crap out of everybody. Now, it looked like in the end credits that the guy who played Ronnie did most of his own, all of his own stunts from the looks of it, actually. So kudos to that, because I know that would be hard, and it looks like he really injured himself in a couple of the parts. So I don't know how long this movie actually took to film, but yeah, kudos for him. Kudos to him for doing that, because I know a lot of actors don't want to take the risk, right? And he failed quite a few times at some of them because some of them look pretty difficult. So, but he is able to save Sia, and obviously they're already together by the end of the movie. Basically, you kind of know that he's just there to kind of take revenge on everybody, and so the whole plan was obviously for Raghav to kill Ronnie, and it looks like he did it thanks to the help of his right-hand man Biju, but it looked actually like Ronnie killed Biju's wife, but what he did actually was shoot beside her, I guess, and so we didn't obviously see that because they wanted to make it look like Ronnie was kind of the bad guy, and I was like, geez, I don't even know if I should feel bad for Ronnie now. But then it made it look like Biju shot him, but it turns out he actually just emptied the gun. Now, I'm not really sure whether he fired a blank or what. Couldn't really tell you. But Ronnie falls into the water, and then he comes back into this big, huge skyscraper-type building that Raghav is in, where he's keeping Sia for most of the movie. And Ronnie fights through all the floors of security and fights one of the guys that Raghav brought over from, I believe, China. He ends up defeating all the guys, and then also defeating Raghav at the end by using the power. I guess he can feel the power of his master flowing through him in some sort of way, so he has the abilities of Raghav's father, and then like does this epic like Mortal Kombat finisher on him at the very end, where it shows like the bones breaking inside of him, and then his spine snapping, and he does this weird like hand movement thing where he like crushes, like you can hear the bones breaking in his head. So I guess he like completely like wrecked his brain probably, and then it looks like Raghav dies at the very end. So yeah, and then at the very end of the movie, it shows Ronnie as the new, I guess, master of where he was actually getting trained in the beginning of the movie. So I'm going to actually have to look for Baaghi 2 and 3, because I would like to do this whole series now that I know there's 2 more movies, because, yeah, this was still really good. I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10, just because of the storyline and certain things I felt could have been touched on more, like where the kid, and maybe I just missed it, but where the kid kind of fit into the whole picture, and if they could have actually told us what was happening in real time and what was a flashback, that would have been really helpful. But other than that, this movie was really entertaining. I feel like you could kind of put the pieces together once you got so far into the movie, but it would have been nice to kind of have some sort of, have some sort of idea as to what was happening, and not have to put the pieces together so much, if you know what I mean. I liked some mystery in a movie, but it seemed like almost too much at some times. But other than that, that's all I have to say about this movie. So as always, like, share, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this film if you have seen it. If not, I would say definitely go watch it, because I still find these films entertaining, even though the story was somewhat confusing. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.